Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another week here on the Pattison Report. I am your host, Philly Brandon, joined by my new co host, Ryan, bringing you everything there is to know about Philly sports that ESPN's not going to cover, what's left of Fox Sports isn't going to cover, and, WIP might not even cover it. Depends on who you talk to. Um, Been a rough week in Philly. We have one less overpass than we did the last time we did this podcast. But it didn't affect the sports complex necessarily. Everybody who listens in North Philly, you're on your own now. You're a sovereign nation. Good luck on electing a leader. But we'll be ready to welcome you back into society whenever 95 is completed.
Did you see that they're going to do a 24-hour live stream of them rebuilding it?
Yes, and if you own a bar in the Philadelphia metro area and you have more than one TV, I'm gonna need one of those to be the bridge live stream because that is must watch TV.
Like a designated kind of TV for the next however many weeks, how long it takes to build a months. Months.
Yeah, I think the quote was 10 to 12 months it'll take. And in my head, like my perfect scenario would be a bunch of union guys at the bar cheering on other union guys building a bridge. Like, you get there, Jerry.
Nothing more magical than that.
Some bullshit like that. Yeah, it's like live sports, but for construction. Like, I'm kind of all in on it.
Because we're all rooting for the same team.
Yeah, we're all rooting for 95. I mean, honestly, I don't travel that way too often. I don't think you wouldn't either, right? You would be the turnpike to 476, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it doesn't affect either of our commutes necessarily, but there's a lot more. And we got time, whatever. I've noticed there's a lot more Phillies fans in Northeast than Sixers and Eagles. Like when this broke, a lot of the Philly accounts that I follow were like distraught, and the Sixers accounts were like, "Yeah, whatever." The Eagles accounts like, "We'll be fine," but the Phillies kind of own the Northeast.
Yeah, I mean, who else do we got? I mean, it's either you root for the Yankees, you root for the Mets, or you root for the Phillies. And I guess.
I mean, like Northeast Philly. Like Northeast Philly.
I think we're talking about Northeast PA in general.
No. Like when this went down, a lot of like the sports accounts all tweeted like, "Oh, mostly memes. There's some bullshit or whatever." But like the Phillies pages were kind of irate about it. So I think the Phillies contingent is pretty heavy in Northeast Philadelphia.
I mean, it sounds it. Hope they find a better way to get to the games, but.
Yeah, we need it because, we're top 5 in attendance this year, and the fans have been there. The team's just kind of starting to get their mojo back. The vibes are kind of turning around. I think Rhys Hoskins being in town helped a lot. Even if he can't play, there's just something about him, man.
Speaking of vibes, I just want to bring up, and I know this is a Philly podcast, but I just want to do a quick aside to the Athletics reverse boycott. Yes. Oh, my God. Electric. Dude, sell the team. But anyway.
It was so good. I'm so sad for Oakland. You don't talk about a diehard sports town. And I tweeted, I was hoping it was from this account. I might have forgotten to switch it. But I tweeted at one of their fans who did an awesome interview. And, he kind of says, like, look, when, my mom would leave me with my dad for the day. We'd go to the ballpark all day. She didn't know what to do with me. And then he's like, when my older brother babysit me, he'd leave me at the ballpark all day and I watch baseball. Now that I have a son, I take him to the ballpark, 50, 60 times a year. Like, it's like this family lineage of like, the A's parented this family, which was kind of cool. And, it sucks for guys like that because, you got to figure you got the A's leaving, the Raiders, who had a diehard fan base, Vegas. Now I know that the Warriors didn't move that far; they just hopped across the bay, but they still left Oakland proper.
It's still leaving.
Yeah, so Oakland's getting the shaft, and they're a good sports town. They're borderline a great sports town.
I mean, San Diego got the same thing, so I guess it's just California sports teams.
Yeah, if you're not in around LA, I mean, the Padres aren't going anywhere now. They're too big of a team to move at this point. But they have the Chargers. It just sucks. And when you think about those guys who go to the A's games who have been going for generations, and then the new stadium is going to be 60% away fans. I mean, it's
always. It's how it's been.
it's going to be a tie-dye of different jersey colors. I mean, who's going to want to play there?
Nobody, but that's just beyond the point. But anyway, the vibes are back. I feel like I got us off topic. I feel like I have to get us back on.
Okay, by all means.
I feel like we need to mention that because that is super huge for the world of sports. And like, we took that. You were in my one class where we talked about this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, with that was Dr. Stark.
Yeah.
Dude, there's gonna be a 30 for 30 about that reverse boycott. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen.
Can't wait. But yeah, the vibes are back, and I'm excited to see this team back in action. It's good when Phillies baseball is good. Like I know the Eagles play well, and we're all excited for them, but I feel like Phillies shows out the most for the Phillies. I know they're considered a football town, but it feels like a baseball town.
It does. You're right. I wouldn't go as far as to say that they show out more for the Phillies, just because I think it is a football town. It's a diehard Eagle town, but I think part of it becomes the energy around the Sixers is so toxic because you don't expect much from them. The Flyers are in the same boat. So when the Phillies are in the World Series and the Eagles in the Super Bowl, you're getting like this frenzy from both fan bases that was just so desperate. And I think you're right. As far as fan excitement goes, Phillies are, dude.
Maybe I think in this is too fresh. Maybe that World Series run is way too fresh for me.
Like, I think in the stadium, the Phillies might have the link beat as far as scary places to play, dude. I mean, the bank is a different animal.
I think it is.
I can't explain it either because, I mean, you got 70,000 people that have been tailgating all day. Like, why do you think that, the bank is so, brutal on other teams? And the link is tough. It's not easy, but it's not, I don't know. The bank last postseason was otherworldly.
It was different. It felt, I know we all get excited, like, with Eagles runs, and I'm not discounting Eagles, like, amazing. I love it, but, like, something just felt different. Like, we were used to the Eagles postseason runs. Like, with the Phillies, it just felt magical. Like, I compared it. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get flamed for this one. I thought Bryce Harper's home run against the Padres. I don't know. It felt kind of almost like winning the Super Bowl kind of deal.
I don't think that's crazy at all.
Like that moment, like I think it might stick out in my head more than the Super Bowl. I'm like, I'm a Birds over. I'm a football guy, you know that. I'm Birds over Phillies. But something about that run, man. I don't know.
It was. I think that run, the run felt great to me for the same reason the Super Bowl run did. It was a uniquely Philly team, Philly kind of run. Like this was an 8 seed who was built weird. No speed, no defense. Just we're just going to slug our way through it. And they did. Like they weren't supposed to beat St. Louis, and they did. Then the Braves. I mean, no one gave us a shot.
Magical.
Beat the Braves. Then it's like, holy shit, something's happening. The bank is getting all kinds of news coverage. The Phillies fans are, front page news, ESPN, MLB Network. Then Bryce Harper does that against the Padres, and it was, I don't know, there was something unique about a third wild card team not built the right way, saying the hell with it, we're going to win anyway. You kind of captured the city's heart a little bit.
I think it's because they were underdogs throughout basically all of it. Everyone doubted them in every series. The Eagles were kind of favorites everywhere they went, besides the Super Bowl, which
this year.
Yeah, this year. That's so like if you compare it to the last one where we were underdogs with Nick Foles, then the bar's a little different. But because this one, it's much more fun being an underdog on a run. I'll tell you what.
It is, and I think Philadelphia functions better as an underdog. We're not used to being on top, which we'll have, which is going to be new this year. I mean, I know that it still stings, and we want to feel like an underdog again. We were in the World Series last year. Like this is the Phillies team that up until now was proper underperforming. The expectation, I think, in my mind, was to appear in the NLCS. Once you get there, anything can happen. But my expectation was this team needs to play in an NLCS this year. And until the last 7 games, that wasn't really the case. I mean, since then, Nola's been good. I'm not going to say he's been great, but he's been good. He still implodes, still gives up the long ball. Zach Wheeler's been phenomenal. Ranger Suarez has been really, really good. And I thought Taijuan Walker showed me a ton in his last start. I would have left him in. I understand why Rob didn't, but in your opinion, the starters getting red hot versus the bats getting red hot, which one do you think is playing a bigger part in this run?
Man, it's got to be the bats. I love the pitching staff outside of the number 5 spot. We'll get to that later.
Yeah,
but you got Trey Turner. I don't know. I think I said that last week. He's starting to figure it out, or at least had a conversation with someone about it. He's starting to figure it out. Nick Castellanos is hot. June Schwarber.
He's also good at baseball.
Of course. and Bryce Harper's still here. Bohm's coming back. Bryson Stott, we talked about this last week too, has taken another leap. He was good last night in the blowout of the Diamondbacks, who are surprisingly really good this year. They caught me by surprise.
Got a lot of people by surprise.
It's got to be the bats. This team is built on the bats. I know pitching plays a big role, and of course it's gonna when we get hopefully to the postseason. I don't know where the vibes are on that. I'm in, but I
think we're back.
I think we're back. I mean, who are we behind? The Braves, who are probably just going to run away with the division again, like usual. We'll get in with the wild card.
Yeah,
I think we'll hot Miami.
Marlins are ahead of us, but they'll come back down to earth.
Dude, that guy's Luis Urias is batting 400.
He's really good.
He's really good, and the Mets are just imploding before schedule.
Yeah, they're behind us. I think all we need to do is overcome Miami, and they're gonna level off. They're not gonna keep this pace. There's no way.
Unless Jorge Soler just decides he's the best player in baseball.
I think even then, I just don't think they have enough. We should catch them. So yeah, we'll go in probably as a second or third wild card again, and we'll have to do it the hard way.
I feel like all Philly now is yeah, fine, okay, we're in. We're gonna have some fun. Because
all you got to do is get in.
It's different when you have that lineup of bats in the playoffs.
It's huge.
Especially,
and the pitching. I mean,
it's going to matter more. Pitching's going to matter more. I think the bats matter more in the regular season, and the pitching matters more in the postseason.
It does. And look, the vibes are great right now, and it's a good thing that we're even talking about what this team looks like in the postseason, because that means we're getting there again. What worries me this year is the same thing that worried me last year, is that, it's going to be easy the first 2 rounds when you're playing a 3-game series followed by a 5-game series. We got the arms for that. That's no problem. 7 gets hard. And I would say we're weaker this year than last year, pitching wise. I think Zach Eflin and Taijuan Walker's a push as far as talent goes. And then you return the other 3. And 5th starter, I'd rather have Noah Syndergaard than what we've currently got in the 5-hole right now.
Yeah, I'm at that point. I hope I don't know his injury timetable because I haven't looked into it recently, but I think Painter's going to be the 5th. I think you're going to have to try him out, right?
It's his spot to lose, but he's just now, today he threw his first 20-pitch bullpen. So he's got a ways to go still.
He's got a ways to go, but if we get him back, say a little bit after the All-Star break, I'm cool with it. Seeing how he does, and maybe he's the guy we're looking for. Maybe he ignites the spark in the pitching staff, and maybe we're just talking about this team is one of the hottest teams in baseball again. It's very possible.
I hope
he does have that stuff. He's a top 10 prospect. So
no, he's gonna be legit. I don't worry. About him at all.
You're worried if he's legit and can pitch in right away and help us out right away. I get it.
That's my bigger issue is, can you bring a guy into the bigs for the first time in a playoff hunt? I think that's where it's dicey.
You have to, unless you get a 5-type starter in the trade market, which if you're trying to pick a back end rotation guy, we're not going to have to give up any star level prospects. So,
and I've been beating the Zach Plesac drum for weeks. What the hell's the harm? The dude at one point had top end stuff. I think Caleb Cotham is a very good pitching coach. What's the harm?
There's no harm. You have
There's
to
another
try
guy too. He pitched for us last year. I thought he pitched really well. Was it Christopher Sanchez or Cristobal Sanchez?
I think it was Cristobal. I think I'm trying to remember. I zoned out for a lot of the regular season.
Yeah, he came up for us in August, I want to say, when Ranger was kind of still working his way, back from an injury. And I thought he pitched well. He was 4 or 5 innings a game. Probably pitched to a 4 ERA, but God, at least he was consistent. I mean, Dylan Covey sucks. Who's the Bailey Falter? I don't know what on earth happened to him. I thought he was a pretty solid pitcher for us last year.
Solid.
But his fastball's down to 90. He's getting shelled in AAA.
Yeah.
So, his days are numbered. I know he's a great reliever, and I'm glad we have him. Dude, put Matt Strom into 5. I know he's a better reliever, but we got nothing else.
I think you have to make a move here, and I don't know who, because like I said, the trade market hasn't heated up yet, but it's around the corner, right? July.
Yeah, we got about probably a month, right? It's mid-July.
I pieced together. What are we 2-10 in games? The 5 has started, so it's literally like tearing this team down.
Yeah, it's really bad. That's the anchor that's holding this team down.
We need a spark from the rotation, because you could argue last year that the X factor of the playoff run, obviously Bryce Harper was MVP stuff, but Ranger Suarez, it kind of felt like the reason that team went as far as it did, as wild as it is to say. Like, Bryce carried, but Ranger Suarez and Alvarado were the reasons, and Sir Anthony too, but the reasons we went as far as we did. You can make an argument.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, the fact we had him start games, long reliever, that the game you and I were just talking about in San Diego, he closed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we asked him to do everything. Same with Zach Eflin. I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking this. I never wanted to move Zach Eflin from the get-go. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was fool's gold. I didn't think the contract the Rays gave him was exorbitant. I thought we could have matched that. And I'm not saying I was right, but, dude, imagine if Zach Eflin's our 5th starter right now. We're probably we're contending for the first spot in the East.
We're at least up there. I don't think we have quite the firepower to overmatch the Braves in the regular season, because they're just Spencer Strider's on a different level at this point. But
that is true. Their pitching staff is phenomenal, but I'm just thinking that we're 2-11 with games that the 5th starter has started. I think Zach Eflin this year has only lost 2 games. He's pitching to a sub-3 ERA. Like, that's a guy that wins you 6 or 7 more ball games. And I don't think we're 6 or 7 games back in the division. I don't think it's that big of a gap just yet. From what I have to look at the standings, but it's annoying. But I'm looking now at a list from our friends at. Actually, I'm not. It's all fan sided, which take it for.
I'm looking at a list right now. Are you talking about trade candidates?
I'm looking for pitchers that the Phillies have been tied to.
Oh, I was just going to throw out Sonny Gray's name as a higher level option. He's on an expiring contract.
He'd be a splashier pick, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against it, but he'd be a splashier pick.
He's a 2.25 ERA right now. Like, I don't think you could ask for much more, but maybe you could work around a prospect package of, keeping out Abel and Painter, if considering he's on the last year of his deal. Like, maybe that would work. We have to give up some other top 5 guys, but top 10. But
I gotta say, this fan side of the article kind of sucks. The only one that I like would be if they could make a deal for Eduardo Rodriguez. He's in Detroit, who has no interest in competing at the moment. The tricky part, he's young, he's got great stuff. Tricky part is you got a player option next year, so it could be a rental kind of deal. Or if he shows out, you pick up, you pay him what he's, it depends how he plays. You pay him what he's asking, and you move off of Nola, and it depends how he moves on. But that's the only one on this list I like. What's up?
Isn't he on the 60-day IL?
Yeah.
Yeah, I only know that because he was one of my MLB The Show.
Look, you're not for what I want to give up, which is really not much, you're going to get guys who are injury prone. You're going to get guys who, are 5-6 inning guys. The thing about him is when he's healthy, he has a ton of potential.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a big get. I mean, it would be a big rental to get him. But of this list, dude, the rest are pretty sad.
Yeah, I mean, like we've said last week, we're only giving up those top 2 prospects if it's Shohei Ohtani. That's it.
Yeah, and even he's a rental, isn't he? I mean, he has.
Yeah, he's a rental, but if you somehow persuade the best player in baseball to play long term with you, even if you get a chance to do that, you have to take it.
And I
know it's extremely risky, but look how I remember way back when in college when we were debating the Sixto Sanchez for JT Realmuto trade, and looking back at it, I was a fool. Sixto hasn't been he hasn't pitched much. I think he's been hurt a lot.
He's been hurt.
And JT's been the best catcher in baseball, at least from the plate.
I think he's been the best catcher in baseball since we've had him. This year, his pickoff numbers are down, but you got to remember they're handcuffing pitchers as far as throws, and the bags are bigger, which that's a separate argument for another day. I think for guys like JT who are about perfect at their craft, that new rule kind of sucks, but that's neither here nor there. Before we move off the Phillies, this segment is technically called Fifth Starter or Right Side Power Bat. I had to put that in there because we needed an option. It's always Fifth Starter because, Cody Clemens over there at first has been a revelation. Reese goes down. Okay, we're good. We got Derek Hall. We're going to be fine. He goes down, panic button. And, Cody Clemens didn't come out of the gates hot. But he's looked really, really good, I'd say, since about mid-May. So maybe, when Derek Hall gets healthy, I think it's a conversation now of which way you go.
Definitely is. But it's always Fifth Starter.
It is. Especially with the Phillies. It's always going to be, dude, since Joe Blanton, we haven't had a fifth starter that I went, yep, we're okay.
Yep, we're good.
Yeah, we need to find this year's Joe Blanton, and I think that's the most succinct way we could possibly put it. So with that, we'll move on to the far less complicated Philadelphia Eagles.
That's easy
and we're going to start from here till we run out of position groups or run out of interest from you guys. We're going to start breaking down position groups each week as far as what do we expect, who could take a leap, and, just kind of what that group's going to mean to the team this year and this week we're going to do the offensive line and the tight end room because they kind of work hand in hand. So Ryan, being that you study football more than the average person, the average TV analyst, and the average NFL head coach.
Whoa. Whoa. Pump the brakes.
Let's start with the tight end room because we'll close on the crowning jewel, which is the offensive line. But when you look at the tight end room for the Eagles, Dallas Goedert, going to do his thing. Who's going to be that second tight end that kind of, either evolves this year or supplants Dallas when he's hurt inevitably? What are we looking at?
I'm looking at the roster right now. I just wanted to double check that Tyree Jackson was on it. I don't see him on the depth chart. I remember he was interesting. He was a converted quarterback, and he played a little bit, and then I believe he tore something in his knee. But I did not know that we signed Dan Arnold, and just
oh right, yeah,
from being a fantasy football dynasty player, you push your chips in on some dudes that are just, how can I phrase this without being, some dudes whose stock is very low. Okay. Dan Arnold was one of those guys for me. When he was way back when he was back on the Cardinals. I forget how many seasons ago that was. But obviously he didn't really play well this past season. He's 28, but he's got some athletic potential. He showed some flashes in the NFL. I keep waiting for Grant Calcaterra to perform. I remember he was really good in college. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember correctly. I believe it was Oklahoma. I got to double check on
We're moving on to Grand Capitera now.
I'm just all over the place with this tight end group. Besides, it was SMU. Big 12, I'm fine. I just don't think we need to talk much about Dallas Goedert. We know who he is. He's great.
Yeah.
He's top 5 at his position. I mean, probably closer to 5 than 1. But
what's tricky is, like, for me, I mean, you can tell me I'm wrong. The next 3 guys are the same guy in a sense. I think Grand Calcaterra might be a little bit of a better athlete than the other 2, but we have 1 very well-rounded top 5 tight end, and then 3 very flawed in a lot of areas tight ends.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm just saying Dan Arnold is definitely the next guy because we've seen him do it at an NFL level before for some meaningful football. And these other guys just haven't yet. There have been spots where they've come in. I know Jack Stoll played a little bit last year, but yeah, I'm just checking Dan Arnold's workout metrics. Yeah, he's an athlete, but it's tough.
I mean, I do see your point where he's the only other guy with, where he was formerly a tight end 1. So.
But the offense wasn't good, so like.
It wasn't. But yeah, he's got to be your number 2. I think a good season for me out of Dan Arnold would be just the ability to move the chains, because that's going to be where Dallas Goedert sees the most heat. He and A.J. Brown on those slants they love to run. So if he can just be, I don't want to say, kind of like a bailout option on those kind of plays. Or, I'm not expecting him to be a factor in the end zone. That's Dallas Goedert territory and A.J. Brown territory. Just be an outlet. Be an outlet, block. Don't make me know your name. If I don't know if Dan Arnold had a good season, that means he had a great season.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Like,
I forget who it was a couple of years back. Oh, gosh. For that same reason.
Yeah, like, I don't want to notice him. That means he's hitting his blocks. That means he's catching his 3-4 yard, outlet passes. I just don't want to think about Dan Arnold. Same way I felt about Jack Stoll. Like, just be invisible.
I could totally get behind that. I'm just trying to see how much Philly ran 12 last year, and it looks like it was not at all.
Yeah, well, we think of our options last year. I mean, it was a full year without Zach Ertz for the first time, and we didn't really address that hole.
Wait, no, we ran it 25% of the time, which was a lot compared to other teams.
So who would that have been with, though? It would have just been with Jack Stoll, would have been the other
I believe, yeah. So we had it's top 15-ish. It's top half of the league. I was looking at the wrong category. I was looking at 21.
Okay. Still, I mean, I don't know. I think Dan Arnold's the closest thing to addressing the tight end 2 position we've had in the last 3 seasons. But, and I get it. That's not where the money was going to go. I mean, we had to pay Jalen. We had to buy 3 running backs, which we'll get to, which I'm very excited to get to. And you got to pay Jason Kelce to stay up front. So I never expected the money to go to tight end necessarily. But moving on to the O-line, which, everybody in football, everybody in Philly, the Eagles go as the O-line goes. And the O-line goes as Jason Kelce goes. My number 1 fear in life is Jason Kelce playing 1 season too long. Do you still think he's got it this year? Is that a concern of yours at all?
Oh, not a concern. It's more of a concern that he's going to pack his bags.
Well, he's back. I know.
I'm talking about the season after.
Yeah.
For 2024, because it didn't sound like he wanted to play more than 1 season, from what I've been hearing.
Well, he's been saying that for the last 3 years.
I know. It just feels like this is the one. He lost a Super Bowl. He wants revenge. He wants to go out on top, and if he does, I mean, but the playing caliber is not a concern. He is still one of the best centers in football, and I don't see that.
I think, dude, looking at this O-line group, I think, again, we have a top 5 O-line in football, which is pretty incredible. Shout out to Jeff Stoutland, the Yoda of offensive
wizard.
lines. But, I mean, you got Jordan Mailata, who's Pro Bowler almost every year. Landon Dickerson could be a Pro Bowler this year. Jason Kelsey, Hall of Fame center. Cam Jurgens, really strong tape. I mean, he didn't play a lot, but he's getting mentored by Jason Kelsey. There's a reason they drafted him. He's got a full year of tutelage under. Dude, you got guys like Kelsey, Lane Johnson, even Mailata. A full year with Stoutland, so he'll be fine. And then Lane Johnson, what's left to be said that hasn't been said? He's one of the best tackles I think to ever play. So outside of right guard's your weakness, and if your weakness is Cam Jurgens, I feel pretty good.
I mean, Kelsey handpicked him, so
that's cool.
Basically, so. And then we have Tyler Steen over there who's going to develop, and Jeff Stoutland's going to do his thing. But what we didn't bring up about the O-line yet is how many O-lines are this good at football and also drop a fire Christmas album.
I've heard they're working on a sequel.
They are indeed.
And look, we this podcast wasn't set up this way when it first came out. Jordan Mailata has some pipes. We knew that.
God, yeah.
The he's an angel.
Dude,
I gotta say, Jason Kelsey was a sleeper, dude. He's got that deep, soulful, Blue Christmas kind of feel.
Oh my god, it was fire. I'm upset. Didn't they release solos before Christmas, then drop the album Christmas Eve?
Yeah, they released a song a week leading up to Christmas, and then all of their vinyl sales went towards a charity. It might have been the Eagles Autism Foundation. I don't remember. No, Phil Abundance. Abundance.
That's the one. No, I was upset I didn't get a proper Christmas season to enjoy the album. So this year, this is the year.
Is it another Christmas album or is it another album? Is it just a standalone?
I think it's a Christmas album.
I hope so.
That's what I think, and they could do it. But yeah,
Jordan Mailata is the most multi-talented person I think I've ever met. I've never met him. Seen.
Crazy, but. Are we concerned about injuries for this O-line? I know Lane Johnson played with was it the torn pec? Am I remember that correctly?
He ran through the playoff with a torn pec, yeah.
The torn pec. I mean,
which has been fixed.
Yeah, that's really the only injury concern we had last year at the O-line, if I'm remembering correctly. Obviously, we just had that one weak spot, but
if I'm being look, I mean, Lane Johnson is tremendous. He's the best, one of the best tackles we've ever had. I think one of the best tackles the league has ever seen. He's gone, God, what is it? It's hundreds and hundreds now of, I think, snaps that leave him out on pressure. No, games. And he's the one. If anyone's going to get injured, it's going to be Lane Johnson. It's just the way that it's been. But his backup, Jack Driscoll, is also the backup I feel the safest with if he has to come in and play.
Looking at the depth chart, yes. Until we see something from Tyler Steen, then yeah. I feel the safest, but I also don't know. I know you said Kelsey is the mover of the Eagles offense, which I agree with, but I feel so much hinges on Lane too, because I remember that game against Dallas where he went down. He was absolutely locking down Micah Parsons for the whole first half. He went out, and then the tide started to turn as Micah Parsons found success against Jack Driscoll. So as much as Kelsey makes the offense run, Lane makes it run just as much, I would argue. It's just it's more like a stability thing with him. Kelsey, it's scheme, because he could pull, he could do all those athletic things that are just absolutely insane. But Lane, for stability and passing, I think I could say that the passing game runs through Lane. Right, and him to shut down whatever edge rushers on him, and then Kelsey for the run game to set up looks and pull and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. I mean, you really can't have one without the other. If I was pressed on it with a gun to my head, I'm still gonna say it's Kelsey, and it's not because they're both great and they're both completely integral to what we do. There's a roadmap to playing without Lane Johnson. We've done it. Jack Driscoll's been in that position. He's held up. This team doesn't run without Jason Kelsey. We've never had to do it. I mean, his Iron Man streak is one of the greatest you've ever seen. So there's not a plan in place for Jason Kelsey goes down.
No, I mean, if Cam Jurgens can give us like 55% to 60% of what Jason Kelce does, I think I'll be more than happy with that.
Yeah. Well, he's your starting right guard this year, though. So then right guard becomes an issue if you move him to center.
Oh, I'm talking about the future because he's going to move to center once Kelce's done.
I think there's a reason Jason Kelce handpicked him. I think he watched his game and saw. I mean, I've listened to him talk about it. He watched Cam Jurgens play and saw a lot of himself. So he went to Howie Roseman and he said, "Look, if your direction for this team is I want to replace Jason Kelce, this is the guy who's closest to being Jason Kelce." And I take his word at it because no one knows that position better than him.
And he gets to tutor him, and like I hope Cam Jurgens steps into that role flawlessly because obviously Jason Kelce can't play forever, sadly. But if Cam Jurgens can do like I said, 55 to 60% of like the pulling and everything, and being as good of a blocker as Kelce is, or even like half of that, I think we'll be able to run fine. But like, we're never gonna duplicate Kelce. Like he feels like one of one.
His ability to get to the second level on blocks is something that we've never seen before. I mean, the amount of times that you would look up, Miles Sanders is a home run hitter, like fast guy, and you could see Jason Kelce leading him down the field. That's one of one. There's no one else that's able to do that. And we'll do running backs next week. I'm so looking forward to talking about Miles Sanders and him leaving and the running back room he left behind because I thought we were cool. Apparently we're not. We'll get into that when we get into running backs next week.
I can't wait till Rashad Penny gets a carry and Jason Kelce's blocking from the second level. Oh my gosh, I need football.
Yeah, me too, dude. We're this much closer to getting football because basketball just wrapped up, and we'll use the last 3 minutes or so of this show and just briefly NBA Finals recap. Shout out Nikola Jokic. I'm prepared to say he is a better center than Joel Embiid.
Agreed.
He got the job done when it mattered most. He does things that no one else can do, and I've been beating the Embiid drum since he got here, but I'm ready to admit that Jokic he's it. He's the center for this generation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. He does. Did you see that he was minus like 20,000? He'll be the finals in assists, and he didn't do it.
Oh, really?
Jamal Murray cashed at like 181 or something like that.
Yeah, from watching the games, I didn't because they run the offense through Jokic, so it didn't always feel like he was involved. But
oh yeah, he was definitely always involved. Where do you think his Finals MVP trophy is right now?
In a duffel bag somewhere. I mean, he doesn't give a shit.
Someone on Twitter said on top of his fridge, and I know that's exactly where it's going.
That's awesome. Yeah, dude, he doesn't care. He doesn't even want to go to the parade. He wants to go home to his horses.
Good for him. Like, honestly, he's like, I feel like he's the people's GOAT. Like the people that work like a 9 to 5 and just want to go home.
He's the working man's MVP.
He's the working man's MVP because like that man does not care about basketball, and he's dropping triple doubles like every other night. So like, props to him. I mean, Michael Porter played the game of his life, Game 5. Like it felt like.
Michael Porter looked really good. I thought Aaron Gordon had some moments. He was in foul trouble a lot.
Game 4.
And, Jamal Murray, I think, reinserted himself in the conversation of elite point guards, which, in the bubble, he looked like he might be the next Chris Paul. And then he fell off due to injury for 2 years. And he's not back to that now, but I think he's back to being an elite guard.
He's definitely an elite guard. They couldn't have done it without each other. I feel like they were the perfect pairing, and maybe now teams will shy away from that super team thing because they developed a bunch of great role players. I mean, sure, Michael Porter would have been a top 3 pick if he didn't have that back thing coming in, but they took a risk. It paid off. I mean, Aaron Gordon was he really good in Orlando? Was he really?
Yeah, he was
They took a chance on him.
He still is, but it's
they inserted him in the right system.
Yeah.
And well,
Bruce Brown, the Nets.
Bruce Brown's going to catch the bag this offseason.
Yeah, and he should. I mean, I thought he had a great playoffs.
Some have called it the Timothy Mozgov bag.
That's kind of awesome. Yeah, because it could wind up the same way, but you got to give it to him. Before we wrap up, let's say last minute here. How should people remember this playoff run for Jimmy Butler?
I've been the biggest critic of Jimmy Butler in my group chat because I'm just a hater, I guess, because of what he did. And I have Celtics fans in my group chat, so of course there's gonna be hater. But I think we should remember this as Jimmy Butler carrying the Heat all the way to the finals, and I think he just gassed out. It's unfortunate because if Jimmy Butler would have been at 100% and the role players would have played like they played the Celtics series, this probably would have gone 7. It would have been an absolute crazy series. But alas, the NBA casuals win and say this was a terrible finals.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think part of it was exhaustion. I also think part of it is just who Jimmy Butler is as a player. He is somebody with the mentality and the heart of a top 3 guy. He, in his head, he's Kobe. He's AI. He's, pick. His talent it's not that. And, his mentality can make up for a lot. But, in the finals, you saw it. I mean, it was push come to shove. It was when he truly had to carry against a great, great team. He just didn't have enough. And, I'll still remember, him carrying him that far. But I think it ended the conversation of can this Heat team, the way they're currently constructed, win a title? I think the answer is no, because you got everything Jimmy Butler had, and it wasn't enough again.
You had all the role players playing peak performance against the Celtics, and then they all just flirted off. I know, rumor has it they made an offer for Kyrie at the deadline. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the offer was.
We have an idea. It would be Tyler Hero, picks.
Would it be Tyler Hero? I don't think it would be Tyler Hero at this point.
At the deadline, it would have been Tyler Hero.
What did he go for the Mavericks though? It was a couple. It was Dinwiddie and someone else.
It was Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and probably some picks.
So probably, I don't think Tyler Hero would have been included because Tyler, maybe with the contract, who knows? But they got to get one more star. Honestly, Bam's great, Jimmy's great, but I know I just said that this might go away from people, go away from teams star hunting for that reason. But if Bradley Beal is out there, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling.
What's left of him?
I know, but you gotta. Dame's number 1.
Yeah,
Dame said he would play in Miami.
He said he would play in Miami if they didn't win the title, which they did not. So
if I'm Pat Riley, I'm on the phone yesterday.
He probably was. He called him from the plane.
Called him from the plane and said, "Hey, this Max Strus guy, he go to Portland."
Yeah, whoever's got to move has got to move if they're going to get Dame. I, of course, and you too, being a Sixers fan, am heavily rooting against Dame coming east. I'd rather not have to deal with him. But if Miami wants to win a title, that is the path. And that is also our time here this week on the Patterson Report. We managed to get through the A's, the Phils, the Eagles, the finals, morality in baseball, and whether or not people should sell their teams.
How did we get there?
An impassioned, plea for Oakland to keep their franchise. No one else got into that much, I can promise you.
Dude, they would have an all-star team if they – I mentioned that one of these days. They would have an all-star team if they kept guys. Matt Olson, Sean Murphy, Josh Donaldson back in the day. You could go on and on.
They had crazy talent. They always have, and they've always let it go.
They always shipped it off, and the prospects never pan out.
That's why the fans deserve better. That's why I need an owner like John Middleton, who's willing to spend everything he's got to win a title. And for that, I'm forever grateful. For you guys listening, I'm forever grateful for you as well. We will see you next week here on the Patterson Report. Peace.
Peace.